Alright guys, this is my Journalism 101 final. My name is Andrew, and I'm going to try and make this movie as least boring as possible, but that means it's probably going to be boring to the max. Alright, so throughout the class we've been talking about whether or not we're going through a communications revolution, and after all the classes and after all the evidence that we've been looking through our studies and stuff like that, I have to say that yes, indeed, we are going through a communications revolution. And the reason why I say that is I believe that because of the technology of social networking websites that have developed over the last 10 years, it has led to changes in our economics, our politics, our social order, and stuff like that. Starting with social order, people have become obsessed with social networking sites to communicate with their friends, review certain things, and follow the stuff that they like. I mean, and I personally spend, hours on Facebook talking about video games, movies, life in general with my friends, and it's led to this pretty much a change in how I communicate with my friends. I mean, I used to have to go down the street, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And they go, "Sure," and we go and hang out somewhere. Or I'd have to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, where do you want to meet?" And they go, "Hey, we'll meet here." Okay, see you there in an hour. But other than that, I mean, there's no other way to, there was no other way to communicate back when I was growing up. And so, yeah. And I mean, and as far as revolutionizing our social networking revolutionized how we review stuff. I mean, we used to rely on faceless, nameless critics for what we used to, do. I mean, we relied on them for movies, for books, for where's the best sushi in town, and but now we just go on Twitter or Facebook and say, "Hey, I'm going to this restaurant tonight," and what do you, what does anyone has anyone been there, and what do you guys think? And people will say, "Oh yeah, I've been there. It's pretty good," or "And we had a great time, and service was great, waiter was nice, and we had a great time." Um, or it's like, "Don't go there. Service sucks. Waiters are rude," stuff like that, and it's just become crazy on how much we interact with social networking sites in our pretty much our social life. Um, uh, as far as politics go, I mean, you could just look at how that's developed over the last, 10, 15 years. I mean, with back back 10, 15 years ago, only way to know what the politics we're talking about was if you watched TV, or the news, or went to a debate, or read about it in the newspaper, or when the internet came along, read about it on the internet. Um, but come last election, the last presidential election, should say, President Obama utilized the social networking sites to appeal to the younger generation that was voting for the first time, and so he went on Facebook and Twitter and got his message out to go and vote for him, and that's honestly how he was able to beat John McCain, was because of the fact that he actually appealed to the younger generation, while John McCain stuck to the traditional methods of debates and campaigning across America. Now, I'm not saying President Obama didn't do that. I'm just saying that he did a better job of using social networking. And today, with the upcoming presidential election, Mitt Romney is starting to use social networking sites a lot more too, to try and make sure that he has an equal advantage, kind of how President Obama did. And moving forward, I can see social networking becoming even more important than some of these debates and some of the campaigning. I mean, I could probably see presidential candidates spending more time on social networking than actually on the campaign trail. And the last biggest factor for me is the revolution in economics that social networking has had on us over the last 10 years. I mean, Facebook mainly has like organizations like, say, sports teams, movies, your favorite video game console or favorite video game, etc. And they have a like button, and you click on it, and or you follow their page if you're on Twitter, and advertisers take that into account, and then they start putting certain ads on your Facebook or your Twitter, or I don't think they do it on Twitter, but mainly on your Facebook, to click on it and buy their stuff. I mean that'd be like me saying, "Hey, here's my ad to buy hats. I got tons of hats now. Buy some." But yeah, and Facebook is, charges certain advertisers to, actually use their site to, sell their product. And now, and again, I go back to when I was growing up. We saw a lot of ads on TV, in the newspaper, pretty much wherever people were, accessing media was where the advertisements were. And they always try to appeal to the younger generation, because the younger generation is normally the ones that, have money to burn. They get like $20 for an allowance, and they don't want to save it, so they go out and blow it at the arcade or at the movies or something like that. But so with now that most of the younger generation is on Facebook and Twitter, advertisers are trying to get into that, so they can get their products sold to the younger generation that has the money to burn, unlike the rest of us who actually have to pay for stuff like rent and college and textbooks, gas, vehicle insurance, stuff like that. That's expensive. But yeah, all this is to appeal to the younger generation. And putting all these factors together, it isn't hard to doubt that we live in a communications revolution. And that revolution is solely thanks to social networking technology, and how we did things socially, economically, and politically 10 to 15 years ago has changed dramatically to try and keep up with, with the advancements in technology, and also to try and to appeal to the younger generation. So the social networking revolution, and this pretty much is a social networking revolution, and I believe it will only get bigger as the younger generation grows up with access to all this new technology. Well, I think that's enough for me ranting, so I'm just gonna call it quits for this video. Thanks for listening, and I hope everyone has a great summer. Alright.